What if life and death weren't so clear-cut? What if ancient promises clashed with dangers right around the corner? And what if the fate of a kingdom hung by a thread? A single decision? This week, we've got some seriously interesting stuff to explore. Excerpts from George R. Martin's A Game of Thrones, specifically the prologue, and then key chapters from Bran, Catelyn, Daenerys, and Eddard.
Absolutely. The sources you pick, they throw us right into a world teetering on the edge. We see the first unsettling signs of this ancient supernatural threat waking up in the frozen north. And then the first delicate, often dangerous, moves in this huge game of political power. Plus, we've got deeply personal stories about to be completely changed by, well, monumental events.
Exactly. And that's what we're focusing on today, dissecting these early chapters. We'll pinpoint those threats, those decisions that these characters face right from the start. We need to understand the tension bubbling under the surface, these ancient forces that are, well, they're starting to stir. Think of it like your guide to the foundation of this epic story. Okay, let's dive right in, starting with that super atmospheric prologue. We're dropped straight into this dark, shadowy forest north of the wall.
What hits you right away is the sense of danger, something humans just can't grasp. We meet Garred, this grizzled veteran of the Night's Watch. Then there's young and maybe a bit arrogant Sir Waymar Royce. And finally, Will, a poacher turned ranger. And almost immediately, there's conflict. Dead wildlings. Garred, he's sure it's the cold.
All right, dead is dead. Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But Royce, this inexperienced noble in his fancy sable cloak, Garrett even jokes that Royce probably twisted their little heads off, but Royce isn't buying it. He wants proof. And Will, the one who actually found the bodies, he's clearly shaken. He mentions that old saying, dead men sing no songs, but you get the feeling something way worse is going on.
This clash, right off the bat, it's so important. It highlights the difference between experience and, well, youthful idealism. Garrett and Will, hardened by their time on the wall, they have this gut feeling about the dangers there, this almost instinctive fear of the darkness. Royce, even with his noble birth and fancy gear, that castle-forged sword with jewels on the hilt no less, he just doesn't get the real threats in this harsh land.
And the details Will gives. They paint a seriously disturbing picture. 8 bodies, men and women, no children though. A snow-covered lean-to, a fire pit that's cold. And here's the really creepy part. No wounds, none at all on the bodies, they just fell. Royce, he even suggests maybe they're asleep, but Will insists they have fallen. What do you make of that? No injuries. It implies something beyond normal violence, right?
Absolutely. It brings up this idea of a threat that operates outside how humans usually fight, and the detail about the wall weakening, that's crucial too. Will makes it clear that it wasn't cold enough for that kind of freezing, points to something unnatural happening, this subtle clue. It strengthens the idea that the cold itself might not be the main killer here, adds to the unease.
Then they go back to the wildling camp, and it's deserted. Except for an axe, a cruel piece of iron just lying there. It's a small detail, but it says a lot, right?
Yeah.
It suggests that whatever happened wasn't about robbing them or a normal raid.
Right. The axe just being left there. It implies a force or an event that goes beyond the normal reasons people fight. And then the others show up. Pale, gaunt figures moving so silently it's unnerving. Those eyes like ice, blue ice. And swords of clear crystal. Their armor seems to shift and shimmer, blending into the dim light. It's this stark, terrifying intrusion of something unnatural into the natural world. What do you think? How does that visual description establish how different they are?
It's chilling, totally alien compared to like how knights and soldiers are usually described. And the fight, it's brutal, over in a flash. Race, even with his expensive Valyrian steel sword, that type of steel known for its strength and sharpness, well, he's totally outmatched. It shatters against their crystal blades. And we get this horrific image of him on his knees, screaming as blood spills between his fingers.
And the silence of the others during this cold butchery. It's deeply unsettling. And that final image. Sir Waymar, reanimated, his eyes burning with blue light, turning and killing Will. It leaves no doubt about the terrifying nature of this enemy. This isn't just a group of weird killers. This is something fundamentally different.
So for you listening, the prologue throws you right into a world where this supernatural enemy, it's not just a myth, it's real out there beyond the wall, not just wildling raiders. This is an ancient, terrifying force waking up. And even the sworn protectors of the realm. They're vulnerable, shockingly so. Okay, let's shift gears now. Leaving the frozen north, heading south to Winterfell. We'll see these early events through young Bran's eyes.
Moving to Winterfell, it's a huge contrast in setting, from that desolate wilderness to the ancestral home of the Starks. But there's still this sense of foreboding. Bran, young and eager, he's excited to see the king's justice done this first scene. It's a harsh introduction to how things work in the North, to the responsibilities of leadership.
Absolutely. We see this deserter from the Night's Watch, an old man broken by the harshness beyond the wall, missing ears and a finger, frostbite. Old Nan's scary stories always make wildlings seem like monsters, but this guy, he's just pathetic, not scary at all. It really challenges those simple, fearful narratives, doesn't it?
It does. It forces you to face the human cost of what it's like beyond the wall, the desperation that might drive a man to break his oath. And then we formally meet Lord Eddard Stark, his serious demeanor, that iconic greatsword ice, described as wide as a man's hand, a color darker than smoke. And the Stark sigil, the gray direwolf, the fact that ice is made of Valyrian steel, a material forged with ancient spells, incredibly sharp, it's a crucial piece of world building. It'll become more and more important.
That beheading scene, it's depicted in this stark, almost clinical way. Young Bran is made to watch it. Jon Snow, his bastard half-brother, gives him some grim advice. Don't look away. It really underlines Ned's strong belief in the harsh justice of the North, the idea that the person who gives the sentence also has to carry it out. What do you think? What's the impact of Bran witnessing this so young?
It's a brutal lesson about what it means to be a lord, the seriousness of taking a life, a formative experience. It teaches him how important justice is in their world. And then we have the discovery of the dead direwolf and her pups. This is a huge deal. Found south of the wall where direwolves haven't been seen in centuries. And the mother's sighs. Astonishing, that shattered antler in her throat. Clearly a violent fight, hinting at some danger that roams even south of the wall.
It definitely feels like more than a random animal attack. The Stark children arguing about what to do with the pups, it shows their personalities. Robb, the practical heir, sees the danger and wants to kill them. But it's Jon, the outsider, who makes that interesting argument. He links the 5 orphan pups to the 5 true-born Stark children and connects the direwolf to their house sigil.
And then that 6th pup, the albino one with those red eyes, totally different. It's Jon, the bastard son, who claims this unique creature. It's a powerful, symbolic moment. It links the rejected pup with the marginalized son. What do you think? How important is this unusual pup and this instant bond?
It's hard to think it's just chance. It feels like there's a deeper connection, maybe magical, happening within the Starks, reflecting the ancient power of their direwolf sigil. Okay, let's change perspectives again. This time, Winterfell through Catelyn Stark's eyes.
We experience Winterfell through Catelyn, and it's clear that even though she's the lady of the castle, she feels a bit out of place. She's a Tully from the south, deeply rooted in the faith of the Seven. So she views the Stark's godswood with apprehension. It's very different from the sunny garden she grew up with in Riverrun.
This contrast really shows how divided the Seven Kingdoms are, culturally and religiously, even within a marriage. Ned seeks peace in the godswood after delivering justice. It shows how important the old gods are in the north, even while respecting Catelyn's faith by building a sept for her in Winterfell. It's a delicate balance he tries to keep.
Right. And the heart tree, that ancient weirwood with the carved face, its red leaves described as 1,000 blood-stained hands. It's such a strong image, instantly conveying the ancient, somewhat mysterious power of the North and its traditions.
And it's under this tree that Catelyn tells Ned the big news. Jon Arryn is dead, suddenly, and King Robert Baratheon is coming to Winterfell with his whole entourage. This news is a catalyst. It sets off a chain reaction that will change the Starks' lives and the entire realm forever.
Ned's grief when he hears about Jon Arryn, you can feel it. We learn about their shared history, how Jon was like a father to both Ned and Robert when they were fostered at the Eyrie. They were obviously close, loyal to each other for years.
The sheer size of King Robert's arrival, Queen Cersei, their kids, the influential Lannister brothers, it's a huge upheaval for the relatively isolated North. It brings all the power struggles and simmering tension of the South right to Winterfell. What do you think? What are Catelyn's main worries about this visit?
I think she's worried about a lot of things. She wants to protect House Stark's honor and reputation, making sure their hospitality is perfect. But she's also smart. She understands politics, so she'd be wary of court intrigue, how this visit could affect her family's future. So what's key for down here? Catelyn's role as Lady of Winterfell, her faith, the importance of tradition in this world, and the king's arrival, it's huge. Signals the start of big political changes. Now, let's cross the narrow sea, see what Daenerys Targaryen's early experiences are in Pentos.
The whole atmosphere changes here. We meet Daenerys Targaryen in this rich but confining setting of Pentos. She's clearly vulnerable. She's under the supposed protection of Magister Illyrio Mopatis, but it feels more like a gilded cage.
Exactly. Even something seemingly nice, like a beautiful gown from Illyrio, makes her uneasy. She's young, only 13, but she gets it. These favors usually come with strings attached. Her brother, Viserys, though, He's consumed by his ambition to reclaim the Iron Throne.
That dynamic between Daenerys and Viserys, seriously unsettling. His temper, his constant threats, the ominous phrase, waking the dragon, and his obsession with their lost birthright. It creates this atmosphere of fear and anxiety for Daenerys. He sees her as a tool, a pawn in his desperate grab for power.
And his plan hinges on marrying Daenerys to Khal Drogo, this powerful Dothraki leader. He wants Drogo's massive army, his Khalasar, to invade Westeros. We see Daenerys' fear of this marriage, her longing for a home she barely remembers. Viserys keeps talking about Westeros across the sea, but it's a romanticized vision.
Daenerys' memories are actually just stories Viserys has drilled into her head about their escape from Westeros, the death of her brother Rhaegar, the sacking of King's Landing. These stories form how she sees her family's history, even though she wasn't there for any of it. It's a legacy of loss and exile, a heavy weight on her.
The preparations for her meeting with Khal Drogo, they're beautiful but also sad. The bath, the gown, the jewels. She's being prepared, presented like something valuable in a deal that'll decide her future. And her fear of Drogo, this imposing, unknown stranger, it's really affecting.
Viserys' desperation. It's chilling. He's basically selling his sister. He even says he'd let Drogo's whole Khalasar have their way with her if it meant getting his army. It shows how ruthless he is, how little he cares about Daenerys. What does this tell us about him? Does he fit to rule?
It shows he's selfish, driven by this twisted sense of entitlement. His ambition comes before anything else, even his sister's well-being. That last image. Daenerys forcing a smile as Khal Drogo approaches. It's heartbreaking. She's utterly powerless, facing a future that's daunting and uncertain. So for you listening, this introduction to Daenerys, it shows how precarious her life is. A pawn in her brother's schemes, facing a forced marriage to this powerful warlord. Okay, let's go back to Winterfell one last time. See King Robert's arrival through Eddard Stark's eyes.
King Robert, with his massive, loud entourage, arrives at quiet Winterfell. It's a culture clash, a reminder of the wider political world that Ned is mostly avoided in the north. Robert has changed. He's gained weight. He seems tired. It's a physical sign of the burdens of being king, the compromises he's had to make.
Ned is genuinely shocked to see his friend like this, the warrior who fought beside him to overthrow a dynasty. He's almost unrecognizable. But underneath it all, you can still feel that connection, that loyalty forged in rebellion. We also meet other important people in Robert's group. Jaime Lannister, the Kingslayer, his clever, cynical brother, Tyrion, and young, petulant Prince Joffrey. It sets the stage for future conflicts and alliances.
Their visit to the crypts of Winterfell, it's a poignant scene, shows how past tragedies still affect them. Robert's grief over Lyanna Stark, even after all these years, it's still raw, intense. He swears he'll kill Rhaegar Targaryen, repeats it fiercely. It highlights the personal reasons behind the rebellion, the things that still haunt him.
They talk about important political stuff too. Jon Arryn's suspicious death, the issue of who will rule the Eyrie next. Robert wants to send young Robert Arryn to be fostered by Tywin Lannister, which is not a good idea. Ned clearly doesn't trust the Lannisters, but out of loyalty to Robert, he doesn't say everything he's thinking.
And then Robert makes a surprising offer that changes everything. He asks Ned to be his hand of the king. This is a huge turning point. It throws Ned right into the dangerous world of politics in the South. And then Robert suggests a betrothal between his heir, Joffrey, and Ned's daughter, Sansa. This links the Starks even more tightly to the royal court, which is, well, it's not exactly known for its stability. Why do you think Robert chose Ned to be hand?
I think Robert, maybe without realizing it, wants to go back to the simpler times of the rebellion. He wants an advisor he can trust, like Ned, someone who isn't corrupted by the ambition and scheming in his court. He's reaching for the past. When their bond was stronger, loyalties were clearer. The irony is, Ned's honesty and straightforwardness, those might be the worst qualities to have in King's Landing.
You can see Ned's inner struggle. He doesn't want to leave the North. His duty is to his family, his lands, and he doesn't trust the politics of the capital. But his sense of duty, his loyalty to Robert, even if it's strained, it compels him to accept. This decision to become hand, even though I have a bad feeling about it, it sets up the main conflicts that will happen in King's Landing.
So for those listening, this shows us how complicated Ned and Robert's relationship is, how past tragedies still affect them, and how Ned's life is changing drastically as he's pulled into the heart of the Seven Kingdoms.
So as we wrap up, let's recap. We saw that terrifying supernatural threat beyond the wall, the Starks dealing with weird omens and the harsh realities of the North. Daenerys facing an uncertain, dangerous future across the sea, and Ned reluctantly accepting this new role that'll drag him into the political mess in the South.
And it's crucial for you, the listener, to remember that these early events, these introductions, these decisions, they're just the beginning. These stories might seem separate, but they're all connected. What these people do in these chapters will have a huge impact on the entire realm.
For sure.
Mhm.
What was it that wiped out those wildlings in the prologue? What did the direwolves mean? Why are they back south of the wall? And what's their connection to the Starks? Can Daenerys find her own power, her own voice in this new life she's been forced into? And what dangers are waiting for Ned in King's Landing? Keep these questions in mind as you explore this complex story.
It all leads to this. In a world where ancient magic is waking up, where politics are fragile and loyalty is constantly tested, the Game of Thrones has started. And as these excerpts make clear, no one, not even the highborn or the strong, is safe from it.